And now for the Q&A.
Today's question comes from Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Daniel says, I am writing to say thanks for all the content you produce in the realm of fitness and fat loss and for the inspiration you provide for helping people like me navigate the complex and confusing landscape of eating and health. He says, I've been on my fitness journey for some time now, working hard to form sensible habits and realistic goals to reduce my weight and lead a generally healthy lifestyle. He says, my question concerns that fundamental component, protein. So many times on your podcast, I've heard you and your guests talk about its benefits in all areas: body composition, weight loss, muscle building. He says, as a 6 foot tall, 38-year-old man weighing around 98 kilos, so I don't know what that is for pounds for us in the U.S.
It's times 2.2. 98 times 2.2.
Okay. Great. So 200. I'm not good with math.
Okay. 6 foot tall, 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says, I'm working on a fat loss goal to shed around 18 kilos to be living with a healthy body weight range. Okay. He says, I've heard you talk about with multiple guests on the show that we have to prioritize protein consumption. My question concerns whether this amount relates to my current weight or my target weight. Should I be consuming the amount of protein needed for my current weight or target weight goal? Figuring this out would reduce some anxiety. I always feel it's a struggle to get enough protein in my diet from healthy sources. Such a good question. So many people have this question.
It's a great question, and it can get so complicated. And like a dude who's 500 pounds does not need to eat 500 grams of protein a day. That is not the case. Where it gets slightly more complicated is when you have when you're more muscular and you're thinking, like for me, it's a little bit easier for me to just round up to what my weight is than to try to go like, okay, if I'm 12% body fat or 14% body fat minus that. Really, you want to be eating it. I mean, ultimately, it depends. If you're trying to build muscle and you're eating in a calorie surplus, you don't need to eat as much, honestly. Like, you still need to eat probably more than the average person does, but you don't need to eat your weight because your body's not going to be stealing those nutrients to do anything else. And so when you're in a caloric deficit and trying to reduce weight, you got to be pretty on that number, whatever it is. Honestly, my suggestion is to use some kind of an app to figure this out and calculate it, and you type in everything. And there's an Instagram called Train Bloom, who we've actually had on the podcast, and he has a great calculator, and it's free. If you go to his Instagram account, I think it's just at Train Bloom. He has so you would enter all your information into it, and it will spit out the number of grams of protein you're supposed to eat. Really, you should be eating more closer to grams for if you're very overweight for your target, right? But I don't know when it gets into 18 kilos because for me, my mind is always thinking of pounds. And if I was concentrating on losing 18 pounds, this would not affect my protein at all. But 18 kilos is double that. So that's like probably closer to 40 pounds. And then maybe it would a little bit, but I don't know exactly because it does get really mathy. Okay. This stuff. And especially when we're talking about kilos, because then it's like 0.8 grams per kilo or something like that. And so I can't spit that number out. I'm not a calculator, but I would go to Train Bloom and do that math. And if not, I would just take the number you're aiming for and try to hit that. So if he's aiming for 70, well, no, it's not. That doesn't work out correctly. I don't know, 150 pounds, I would aim for 150 grams of protein if that's his target weight.
You're okay. Got it. more closer to the target than where you're at. Right. Because like you said, if someone's 500 pounds, they don't have to eat 500 grams of protein every day. That's a lot.
Right. But also, if he's 180 pounds or 190 pounds and he's in a caloric deficit, that extra protein's not going to harm him.
Yeah.
It does get very complicated. And I'm sorry, I can't just give him a number. But I would say what I've done it a few times where I've gone like, I lost a little weight. Let me type it into Train Bloom. And usually Train Bloom gives me around the number I'm eating. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think of these numbers as absolutes. Like if I'm trying to eat 250 grams of protein a day and I only get 230, I'm not up at night sweating over this. And sometimes I get 260. Sometimes I'm a little higher and sometimes I'm a little lower. I am not measuring out an ounce of chicken before I go to bed to make sure I get every gram of protein. But I'm getting as close as possible while still trying to live a life where I'm not weighing my food constantly. I'm really trying not to weigh my food anymore, which has seemed to be good for the last year.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I get it. It's a little complex. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
If you are weighing your food, then weigh out the ounce of chicken, That's okay too. I'm not saying you have to not do that, but if his ballpark is 150 grams to 180 grams, and I would think if he's eating anywhere near that much, because that's a fair amount of protein, that he's going to be okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, good. Well, hope that helps. Let us know if it does and how you do on your goal. Good luck to you with that. Thank you for sending in your question. For anyone else who wants to ask Ethan a question, we love to read your questions. You can email them to us. hello@americanglutton.net.